Good morning, everyone. Thank you and welcome to this webinar. My name is Hai-Shen. I'm from mParticle Solutions team. So as a professional, I enjoy solutioning technologies for customers to help them tackle, any business challenges or meet their business needs. And here at mParticle, we truly provide a best of breed customer data platform solution to help growth marketers and product managers to deliver their initiatives like improving conversions and retentions, also saving time and efforts for engineers, helping them to deliver those initiatives. And today we've worked with many famous brands across different verticals around the globe. Names like Spotify, Airbnb, Overstock, McDonald's, Burger King. So if you are interested in their success stories, please check them out from mParticle website. So in regards to today's agenda, we're going to spend a little bit time talking about the architecture, really high level overview. Then we're going to look at some demo cases and hope that would give you some ideas and thoughts how you may be able to apply, some cool features or some use cases in your daily work in your business. Cool. Very quickly. So as a customer data platform, really, we help customers to gather data from different touch points. Those are the first party data coming from web, mobile applications, or connected TV systems, as well as from other owned systems like database, like a loyalty system. All these can come into the CDP platform using either native SDKs or APIs. And we provide also the data quality assurance through validating each incoming data points to make sure you always have those reliable, good quality data, to have that single customer view to understand customers' behaviors and transactions, those insights. So for non-technical people like marketers or product managers, they can just do activation using platform's UI to send this data to downstream systems for different purposes, whether it's for analytics, for attribution, or if you want to engage your end customers on social platforms or sending them emails or push notifications, even personalization. You can do that just using the CDP here. So, okay, that's very quickly 2-minute high-level overview about mParticle customer data platform architecture. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention this. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So I will be looking at those questions and help to answer as well. Cool. So next, we're going to look at some demo. Just to set the scene, we actually would have a mobile application and also a web application. We'll see how in real time we're gathering the user interaction with those apps. And we'll see the data in the platform. Then we'll see how we can easily set up the activation over to different systems. The example we have here is actually Braze. Then we'll be able to further create audience to drive user engagement or share the user list to different media channel, whether it's like your own media channel like Braze or Facebook, those pay media channel as an example. Cool. So the very first scenario, we're going to look at the user opens the new app and play with it in an anonymous mode, and then further finish the registration and start interact, how we can actually track the user activity from anonymous to known identity, also across different devices. Ready? Cool. So here I've got my observation window here. It's what we call the live stream. We'll be able to see in real time the data coming in, and the environment example here is a retail e-commerce say business, and we have an end user, Jane Doe. So now Jane just opens her phone, launch the app. And at this time, let me just do a quick refresh, make sure we're actually getting data coming in. So maybe she would just start to browse around, the categories to find out what sort of commodity she might be interested in. And you can see here, we actually see the action in real time. And it's really carries a lot of granular details in terms of what types of activity is a search, and the detail in terms of which product type, which gender, which brand, etc., etc. And it's really flexible framework you can utilize as well to add in, any name, any attribute. The system will automatically process that without you, predefine here. And what I would like to mention is, if we look at these two events, the session starts and the search activity, we don't really have any identity about Jane. She hasn't shared her identity with us yet. And with that, I will just follow to look at this, what we call the very empty user profile. We don't have ID, we don't have email, we just observe a new user. And I wanted to mention, we actually will be able to check the user journey. Now, at this moment, Jane appears as a visitor without, much information about her. So a lot of traffic going to, your business would be like this. Some will be anonymous. You don't know the details about them. Now, say Jane has got interested, and she starts to, register with her email and some details as well, and then log in. So that process is finished behind the scene, but we can see here, because it's a new user, we haven't got any personalization for Jane yet. And what I wanted to mention as well is we really support the privacy and consent management in terms of when user gives their consents for different purposes like analytics or marketing, or even sharing their device ID. We'll be able to capture that and store that consent. So when you do further activation in the CDP platform, you make sure you always respect the individual user's consent. Make sure the business in a privacy compliant manner. So now I would do more action, like maybe order delivery, or I can even go to the shop to scan, etc. All these will be recorded against this single profile. And if I do a refresh, now we have more information appear for this profile. So this is how we actually track the user from different journey, different stage under the single customer view. And you see, we've got the customer ID, email, and a little bit more detail about Jane, which shows her name, her contact number, etc. But not much more. So if I do a bit more activity, actually I will just ingest a few more data about Jane. So I'm going to switch to our observation window. Actually, we're seeing all sorts of data coming in from different places, customer database, or machine learning engine. What I wanted to mention, this is how we provide the data quality assurance by validating each data points against a schema you define there. So we'll flag if anything goes wrong, what's the problem, like this one is unplanned event name. So when it's even in development mode, it's particularly useful for engineers without them needing to debugging or testing. We already point out what the problem is so they can fix that. And when it's in production mode, we can also specify when there is a data quality violation, we can block that data points and send that over to like Amazon S3, so you can correct that and have it replay later to make sure you always have that trustworthy, good quality data, prevent contaminations in your downstream system. Cool. If I come back to the user profile here, I will do a quick refresh. You see we've got more data coming from different sources and more details about Jane as well. In terms of like loyalty system, gathered the information, machine learning produced the propensity score, also recommendation, etc. All this under the single profile. So that's actually our first scenario, which covers how we actually build up the single customer view across different journey, different touch points, devices, how we secure the data from end to end and respect user privacy and consent. So I haven't seen any questions so far. I hope that makes sense. I will make a pause here. If you have questions, feel free to raise hands or just put that in Q&A or the chat window. Cool. Well, at least, yeah, we're seeing maybe one. Cool. Thank you, Mark, for the feedback. Yeah. So our second scenario is once I have that, customer profile, understanding of customers' preference, how I can do activation further. So out of box, we've got more than say 250 integrators already pre-built. You can just choose and whichever one in your ecosystem and make use of that. And the setup is really simple. We just need one or two pieces of information to have that authentication established. The example I'm quickly giving here is if we look at the setup for an analytic to say Amplitude, what we need is just an API key and specify, say, which instance or data center the data will go to, and that's done. So once the connector is set up, how you actually send the data from the source to the destination is to go to the connections view and then choose, for example, I want to send over all my iOS app activity over to amplitude, I can just choose the source and then choose the destination and make it active, and that would be done. I mean, there were detailed settings to tweak as well according to your special environment settings, but the default setting will work. So from that time point, all the data will be simultaneously forward downstream to the destination. If we come back to look at the view here, I can also, this is a useful observation window. I can just choose the in and out, and sorry, let me just generate a few more events. Search products, and maybe watch a promotional video. We also support media events in terms of like for streaming services, or you have video for your business to do promotions. We can capture that behavior and a lot of detail. And you can see with all the coming events, once I set up the destination, it's in real time when we receive the events would also be forwarded to downstream in real time. So all the activation will be done in a timely manner. Cool. And in terms of like the detail, we can look at like what sort of media content being played. It can be a a content title, content duration, how long it is. All this information we will be able to capture and be used in later stage when you want to create a really flexible criteria for audience building. I'm going to show a quick example. Say if I wanted to look at all my audience like watch the promotion video but haven't done any purchasing, I can just make use of that event data points to create the criteria. Before we dive into that definition, just wanted to come back to the slides to summarize what we have seen in terms of the activation by non-technical people. Intuitive UI, you can set it up out of box with these pre-built integrations. We also provide open, agnostic, extensible APIs for engineers to democratize the data, to make use of the data as well. And one last thing about the activation is when you have all the like source and destination set up, if you wanted to have more granular control, you can do it, use the UI filtering system as well. It's a very simple of toggling off and on, like a lot of downstream system would charge you based on the ingestion volume. And you can say, I only want to send out the necessary relevant details for like my transactions. And you can just simply toggle off all the options and turn on just this one. The same applies for the user information attributes as well. Like I only want to share just the email address, but not the contact number. You can have that detailed tweak just using the UI without asking engineers. And it's really saving the time and improved efficiency without waiting engineers to give you that result and tweak. I hope this also makes sense for the second scenario. I wanted to make a pause here. Any questions so far? Yeah, here it's just for a lot of say administrators of mParticle would be like marketers or product managers. They can just set up the activation here. Cool. Our last scenario, we're talking about once we have that data, and one great use case is to create the audience or the cohorts, and then send that to downstream for further user engagement. So one scenario we brought earlier is to define this audience criteria. Like example here, I wanted to find out all the new users, they register, provide their email by looking at the user identity, and all these fields are auto-populated. So you don't need to have prior knowledge. You can just select and choose the one you need. And then the new user hasn't made any purchasing. That's why the lifetime value is currently empty. And also the user watched that promotion video. I'm using just the content ID, but it could be, you know, a campaign name, whatever information comes along with that particular event will be populated here. And most importantly, we've got the user's consent for marketing purpose. So I can just create an audience list. I've got 9 users appearing in this list, and then go to connect and send over to downstream, whether it's, you know, your own media channel like Braze or CleverTap, or the pay media channel. You can do all sorts of orchestration here, like Google Ads, or if I want to add new, I can just do Snapchats. Very easy to, I just wanted to forward the email and add a connection, and that will be done. So actually for my user, for Jane here, we want to send her some voucher to encourage her finish the first shopping. So if I go to Jane's mailbox, because we've done that video watching like 6 minutes ago, it happens quite fast. In real time, we send out that user list over to the CRM system Braze, and then Braze will send out that email. So now when Jane checks her mailbox, she sees the voucher, she opens the email, now she just finishes her purchasing over here. So all this data can be fed back to mParticle system. Let me just do in. And you see the email being delivered, we actually capture that event. Let me just do a quick refresh so we can see a few more events coming in. Yeah, we can see that email delivers actually it's the information coming from Braze. We just close that loop. So after the email being sent and the user opens email or follows the link, etc., it would be able to be captured by say Braze, and then Braze will send back that information so we can evaluate how effective the campaign becomes in terms of whether the user follows you know, the interaction and further finish the conversion or the detail. We can just utilize that one. So another one I wanted to mention is how we can do some personalization. And if we look back to this user, Jane, for the machine learning system, actually produce some recommendation in terms of what sort of products and the product ID. And now if Jane logs in again, will be able to see the recommendation for Jane, and also, all sorts of personalization we can do in terms of like even change the color theme. Now we've seen the color theme change, and also the product recommendation for Jane is actually there during the login, and it can be once Jane adds certain product or browse certain product. It's very flexible using mParticle's personalization service, what we call the profile API. You will be able to fetch the user attributes profiles in real time, and according to the corresponding value to deliver that personalization in real time. Like we see here, it's a product recommendation during the login. Okay, so just to summarize the third scenario, how we can engage user through different stages, like watch the promotion video for the first time shopper, or also like send out the audience list to different channel, whether it's own media channel or pay media channel like Facebook or Snapchat, and further to deliver that personalized experiences based on the recommendation or user's preference. Just to summarize what we have seen today, it's Jane's customer journey from the first time she opens the mobile app, further to view some products, to sign up. With her interaction, we just keeps building up the profile progressively. So we have more insights about Jane's preference and activities. And really, the benefits of using a customer data platform like mParticle here is to give you that unified customer profile. And also, we don't rely on this SQL query or engineers digging into database or data warehouse to give you that results. We actually can get that results in real time just through the self-service intuitive UI. And we can do activation just using the pre-built connectors out of box. We've got 300 of them. Really useful and helpful features for product managers and say growth marketers, personal-wise.